Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno. I'm the founder of Real Men, Real Style. Today, I'm going to be speaking with you about sweaters. How to make a smart purchasing decision when you go out there to buy a sweater. I'm going to give you 5 tips so that you can go out there and buy the right sweater for you, a sweater that you're going to wear, a sweater that's going to keep you warm, and a sweater that you're going to enjoy. Now, this is brought to you by the Aaron Sweater Market. The guys reached out to me over there, and I am very impressed. I've got actually 6 sweaters. I've got one of the gurney styles right here. I am wearing one of their Aaron sweaters made with a cashmere. They have a classic Aaron sweater right here. 3 things I really like about this company. They've got history. They've been around for over 100 years, since 1892. Quality. Like I said, I've got 6 of the sweaters. I've inspected how they're built. For the price you're paying, and I've spoken with them a little bit, Personally, I think they're underpriced. I go look at this. I have paid twice as much here in the United States. I mean, they're based over in Ireland, and they are hand knitting a lot of these sweaters, using machines here or there, but really hand finishing, paying close attention to the quality. And that's something I really respect. I live in Wisconsin. It gets really cold here. A quality sweater is going to get used. And I can tell you that all 6 of the sweaters they've sent me, very, very impressed with the quality. And last but not least, classic styles. Like I mentioned, I've got a gurney, I've got a fisherman's ribbed net, turtleneck. I've got the classic Aaron. They have a wide range of classic styles. So you can go in there and buy something and know that you're actually going to wear it and enjoy it, and it's not going to go out of style. That 20, 30 years from now, you can still wear this sweater because it's been around for 50 to 70 years. It's a classic. All right, so let's get into the tips. Number 1, what's the first thing you want to look at when buying a sweater? It's the material that the sweater is made from. That is the most important thing. So when you see a sweater is made from wool, good. Now there's various types of wool. Let's talk about coarse wool. So coarse wool is usually going to be the least expensive wool, and this is going to be made from a thicker strand of basically, if you get down to the fiber level, they're usually longer, they're thicker, and they're going to be a little bit itchier. Still, though, it's wool, and that's a luxury fiber. It's going to keep you warm. Wool has the properties of keeping you warm. And that's why when you see something that's, let's say, made from polyester, even though it may look nice, you need to be careful because polyester, cotton, a few other of these materials, they're not going to retain heat. They're not going to be insulators in the same way that wool is. Wool comes from sheep, and if you think about the hair right there, specifically designed and bred to retain heat, to keep you warm. Now, there is also going to be a finer wool, oftentimes called, a merino wool, and that's going to be a step up. It's usually going to be made from a thinner, if you get down to a thinner fiber, they can still spin it into pretty nice size yarns. The cool thing with this is that it's going to be less itchy. It's going to feel softer, closer to cashmere. And I'll get into cashmere here in a second. But the problem with that is usually the price is going to go up on those higher end wools. Whenever I looked at the Aaron Sweater Market, I'm happy to see they're using a lot of the finer wools. Okay, so let's talk. I've mentioned cashmere. I've mentioned alpaca. We actually have it. Alpaca farm just down the road from me, literally 400 meters from my house. But the cool part is that they have wool that is going to be, the hair is going to be a bit softer. And that's because if you get down again to the individual fibers, they're going to be thinner. They're going to have less scales that stick out, so it's just going to be naturally less itchy. The problem with cashmere and alpaca, and why you want to make sure that if you do get those, that possibly you get them in a wool blend, is that the length of the fibers is not going to be as long, so the yarns aren't going to be as strong, and that's one reason I really do like wool. Now let's say, Antonio, okay, I don't need super warm sweaters. I want to go with something that's a little bit more inexpensive. That's when cotton, again, some polyester, some blends, I'm not going to totally say bad things about them. There are a few decent blends that coming from respectable companies that aren't too bad, but understand if you're getting a cotton sweater, you can throw it in the wash. That's cool. You get a polyester sweater, you can throw it in the wash. And if it's good quality, it should retain its shape. The problem with those sweaters is that they're just not going to retain heat. So no matter how bulky they aren't going to do the job of necessarily keeping you warm. You're also going to see occasionally out there linen and silk mixed in with sweaters. And sometimes that's for just getting certain effects. I don't think there's anything wrong with blends, especially when you see a wool mixed with a cashmere or an alpaca or something like that. But again, understand the fiber, and that's really what you're paying for. So when you see sweaters that are a couple $100s, understand that they better be made from a luxury material, because if they're not, then you have suspect and you should wonder, why are they charging so much? Okay, so we've talked about the material. Let's talk about the sweater size. Your sweater needs to fit. The fit I have right here of this sweater is a pretty close fit. Make sure that they give you the chest information. They should lay the sweater out and they should measure the chest. They also want to measure the length, and the length is going to be the sweater laid down from the top, from the back of the neck, all the way to the bottom, and to get the sleeve length. Look at how they measure the sleeve. You should be able to figure it out based off that, but some companies are going to measure from the shoulder point to the end of the sleeve. Other companies are going to measure from the center of the back out here. As long as you understand and you've measured this for yourself, whenever you buy a sweater, especially if it's made from a material that's going to shrink, and again, that's almost anything from a hair, even some cottons will shrink a bit. You want to make sure you get it just a bit larger. However, understand that these also will stretch, conform to the body. Key is don't throw these into the dryer. Don't expose them to heat. Like most protein-based fibers, these will denature and can shrink and get a lot smaller than what you want. So make sure that you take care of it and get the size that is right for you. Okay, so let's talk about styles. Most sweater styles, the most clearly defining thing that defines them is going to actually be the neck. So we see various necks. I'm going to go from probably the most formal to the least formal, generally speaking. So the most formal are going to be the V-neck and the crew neck. So this is a mock turtleneck, by the way. So a crew neck is going to fit a little bit lower. The V-neck is going to open up here. Why these are going to be more formal is when mixed with a very lightweight sweater that's got a plain stitch, very simple, let's say in a gray or a navy blue, these can actually be matched and worn with a suit. The other styles I'm going to talk about, they're going to be much harder to pull off with a suit. Actually, you probably won't want to in many cases, and they're going to become more casual. So the V-neck, though, or the crew neck can also be in a casual style. Usually that's going to be because they've got like rib stitching or things like that. You're going to see maybe a net stitch. Okay, so let's talk about the turtleneck. This is a mock turtleneck. A full turtleneck is actually going to go up and then fold down. Turtlenecks, great for keeping warm. They're very practical. Some people don't like them. They say, hey, it's just not a style. I think it looks good on anybody. I say go look at Steve McQueen in Bullet, and yeah, case settled there. Also, German, the Submariner style, famous from coming out of, I think, you look at pictures like, I don't remember, was it Das Boot or some of these cool German movies about World War II. You look at these submariners like the Sea Wolves, these guys out there wearing that stuff. I think pretty impressive and very practical. A lot of that was sewn with a ribbed stitch, so it's a heavier weight sweater. The classic ones are because they had to keep you warm. When I was in the Marine Corps, we had sweaters like this. We call them, the Woolly Pulley. It didn't have a turtleneck, but it had that heavy stitch on it. Okay, the roll neck. The roll neck going to go up about halfway. It's going to roll over just a bit, a very casual neck style. The cowl style, this is going to be you've got fabric going up over a very casual style. The notch neck. Like the V-neck, except it's just going to have a notch here. Normally a casual style. And then the shawl. Okay, the shawl and maybe I should have moved this one up because I think it's a middle. It can look very stylish. And if you're wearing a shawl cardigan, that actually you could wear a dress shirt with a tie, throw over a cardigan, and you can substitute a cardigan for a jacket. It's going to be a little bit less formal, but I think a great looking sweater. Okay, there's a couple other things that aren't normally talked about as well. The shoulders. So we've got the set-in shoulder, the raglan shoulder. So this is a set-in shoulder, has a regular shoulder point. The raglan, it's actually the sleeve is going to go all the way up here, and so basically it doesn't have a shoulder point. And then the dropped shoulder. This is where the shoulder has actually been dropped, and it's been made in that way. I think actually this gurney has a bit of a dropped shoulder. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about with styles are the openings. So not all sweaters, this one right here has no front opening, but you'll see usually two very common types of openings: zippers and buttons. You'll also see toggles. Not going to get into that too much, but the zipper, you'll see the half zip, which goes down not really halfway, but about to the middle of the chest. And you'll also see the full zip. Now you'll also see this in buttons. So you have the half button and the full button. Depends on the type of the button, the size of it, the type of zipper, how prominent they're showing the zipper as the formality, but this makes them a bit more casual. The exception that has been worked into the business wardrobe, though, is the cardigan, and that is a particular overall style. Okay, so point number 4, let's talk about colors and stitching. So stitching, you're going to see ribbed. Ribbed is where actually the fabric comes in on itself. It has been stitched this way. Ribs are really nice in the sense that they can add a bit of bulk and weight and strength and really create the warmest sweaters. Then we're also going to see Aran stitch. So this is an Aran, and what we see here, we have a very intricate, all of this stitching, this means luck. There are certain things like the tree of life that talk about family. I'll get into this in a separate video about Aran sweaters and all what those stitches mean, but understand that these actually have meaning and they add warmth. Now there's going to be a plain weave, and you're going to see this on a lot of sweaters out there. I mean, this is just a very simple plain weave. It's going to be one of the thinner weaves, not going to be as warm, but is perfectly fine for most sweaters. And then you're going to see a net weave. Net weave, usually see in women's wear, and this is actually where you can see through it. I'm not a big fan of it. Most of that's for decoration. I don't think it retains much heat. Now let's talk about colors. Blue, green, oatmeal, which when I say oatmeal, I'm referring to more of a tan. Browns are great as well. Grays, patterns, so patterns, not going to get into it too deep because there are whole sweater styles that get, Celtic sweaters and things like that that have unique patterns. I'm going to say most men should start off with solids, then make your way into patterns. Patterns grab a bit more attention, aren't going to be as versatile into your wardrobe, although classic patterns like seen in the Norwegian style are perfectly acceptable. Or if you're from South America, some of the Peruvians or some that come out of the mountains there are classic as well. Okay, so white sweaters, by the way, are good to go. You'll see this in Aran sweaters. I'm not going to pull off a white. I have a little bit darker complexion. Not going to really work for me, but if you have a ruddy complexion, red hair, blonde hair, white sweaters, pretty good for you. Okay, so last thing, price. Why do I leave price for last? Because if you're going to spend $200 on a sweater, if you're going to spend $50 on a sweater, which was a better deal? Well, think about it. If you wear that $50 sweater once, you don't really like it, you just had to have it, you wanted something warm, you just never liked the way it looked. So you put it aside, never wear it again, you give it to Goodwill. You buy that $200 sweater, you love the way it looks. You end up wearing it over the winter like 40 times. In fact, your wife is asking you, are you wearing that thing 2 days in a row? And you're like, yeah, I love this. Think about how you feel about the sweater, how does it fit, and are you going to be able to fit it into your wardrobe? So don't make decisions based off of price when you can. I know some of you guys are very price sensitive, but other guys, you just need to realize that, hey, buy a sweater that's classic, one that you're going to love and you're going to wear. So I'm going to end this talking about the various types of sweater styles. The Aran, the cardigan, the gurney, Submariner, Norwegian. That's why I like a company like the Aran Sweater Market. You go there and they've already got all of these styles right there in the men's section. These are sweaters that have been around for, in some cases, over 100 years. And that is amazing because you know that when you're wearing that sweater 20, 30 years from now, or 2 years from now, it's not going to be out of style. It's not going to be out of fashion. Maybe some people, I saw the Fair Isles sweater come in and out. But if you understand the history of that sweater, then wear it with pride. And especially if it looks good on you. All right, gentlemen, go check out the Aran Sweater Market. Great company. I'm very happy to support them. Quality material at a very fair price. And I'm happy to have them as a sponsor. Guys, we'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. Let me know what style is your favorite and why. And I'll make sure to get down there and respond back to you. Take care. Bye-bye.